Welcome, everybody, to the Legendarium Podcast Weekend Edition. I am not happy to be here because
because I brought up Pandora.
because you brought up what's
He
that
opened
stupid
Pandora's
movie called?
box.
What's it called?
Avatar.
Avatar. Man, I hate that movie.
Everything on this
Blue Fern
planet
Gully.
wants to kill you and eat your eyes for jujubes.
Gosh. It's just bad. It's so bad. Okay, today we are talking about sci-fi tropes and what sci-fi does really well, and maybe some of the hokey stuff that we get out of it. Because we talk a lot about fantasy on the show, and that is a topic that I think will come up in this discussion. Sci-fi and versus fantasy and all that stuff. But we thought it might be kind of a fun discussion. I don't know where we're going to get. I don't know what the point of all of this is going to be, other than to just say, you know what, we don't talk enough sci-fi, and then let's point ourselves in the general direction of The Expanse, so that one day it'll make sense when Blue Team reads The Expanse.
Right.
And I just caused a whole lot of ears to perk up.
It might be coming sooner than you think.
All right.
I'm just saying.
So sci-fi, here's one thing about sci-fi. First of all, here's a trope in sci-fi. Make movies about sci-fi, not books, right? So it seems like, and there are plenty of sci-fi books out there, and most of the movies are based on books, right? But in my mind, at least, books are the domain of fantasy, and movies are the domain of science fiction. What do you think?
I can see that.
With some exceptions, obviously The Lord of the Rings being the big one, fantasy doesn't tend to do that well on screen.
I think science fiction is a much more accessible movie medium, or like it's much more accessible to your mass audience because it's a little bit more...
It's quite literally flashier, for one thing.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And it's more grounded because of the whole like science angle. Like people believe like, oh, this could maybe happen someday with science, but fantasy takes a little bit more just like suspension of disbelief, disconnect.
Right.
I feel like the script is flipped a little bit, though. I mean, with the Wheel of Time coming out, with the Song of...
we will see.
Game of Thrones.
We'll see.
Hobbit,
the fantasy genre is the hot thing right now.
But by and large, I think you're right. I think it's... If you're going to make a fantasy movie, it's a sci-fi movie.
Do you guys... so you don't necessarily have to come up with this right now, but think about like what your all-time favorite sci-fi movie is.
Annihilation.
I was thinking about that too. Annihilation and Ex Machina, I think, are both really good.
Great, yeah.
Anyway, Arrival would be up there, but these are recent. There's lots of stuff that came out.
Yeah, I'll noodle on it for a minute, thinking some other ones.
Yeah.
Ken, you're not allowed to say Logan's Run. Okay, so
have you seen Logan's Run recently?
No.
Oh my gosh,
it's not good.
No,
but it's also really good. That's a great example of this did not work on screen, but on page, like the idea of the story.
Great story. Horrible movie.
If you're not familiar with Logan's Run, you really should be. It's about this utopian civilization, and they kind of all live under this dome
live on
or
borrowed
something.
time.
And the idea is we don't want to overpopulate the earth, and we don't want to use up resources or whatever. And so when you reach the age of 30, we kill you.
Right.
And this is like this is the social contract. We're all gonna only live until 30, and then you get killed. But some people try to run away, and Logan is somebody who's hired to hunt down the people who run. But then Logan runs and finds out that not all is as it seems.
What? Shocker.
Anyway, maybe that's something we should start with as far as sci-fi tropes. Let's talk about utopian and dystopian civilizations. It's always, you're looking forward into the future, and it's always either The Road or Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, when you look into the future.
But it seems more often to me that it's the utopian future with a dystopian underlay.
Well, I think that's where it went eventually. I just made this point. I did a guest appearance on the Deep Dive Film School, and so I don't know when that's going to go up, but I'll link to it when it does, on Twitter and et cetera. But this is something I've been talking about on there, which is dystopian stuff is fun, and we like that, and I think there's something to talk about there. But with Utopian, it always ends up going that way. But it didn't. Star Trek is probably the best example of just a pure utopian future where technology advanced society to the point where all of our problems are now obsolete.
Right.
And what
and it's an
the
enlightenment that drives us now.
The problem with that is that it's complete baloney, and that would never happen. And that's, it does not take into account human nature.
Right.
And there's nothing that technology can do to erase human nature. And so Star Trek is bullcrap. But what you get is things like Logan's Run, which I think, was that pre-Star Trek? I think that was pre-Star Trek. Anyway.
No, it was, the movie was post, it was
post-original.
The original series, but pre-movie and all of the resurgence.
But you get a lot of movies like the one I was thinking of was Demolition Man.
Oh,
one of the greatest 90s movies,
I love
90s
that
movies
show
ever.
so much.
So it's kind of a goofy movie, but
I love a goofy movie too.
But it does have this idea of the utopian society, but there is no such thing, and so you come to find out that it's literally built on the backs of this dystopian world underneath it all.
Right.
That, that keeps
I was going to say,
running.
because pretty much any story that has utopian or dystopian societies in it, you have both, right? It just depends.
Not necessarily.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's
Because-
not necessarily. That's fair. But I was going to say, it kind of depends on the point of view from which you're being told the story, right? Because you have your utopian society like the Capitol and the Hunger Games, but it's all, and it's supposed to be this utopia, but it's all built on this dystopian, off the backs of all these other societies, and
But I think you can also point to things, and we're getting a little bit away from sci-fi, so I apologize for that. But you think about things like The Walking Dead or any other zombie show out there where society has crumbled.
Right.
And we're left with our barbaric, uncivilized selves, and we have to figure out how to navigate that world, right?
Right.
And I think that there's something really, really appealing in that. Somebody was bringing up with me earlier that, why is it that teenagers all seem to love the Hunger Games or what's the wall one, the Maze Runner?
Oh yeah, Maze Runner.
Maze Runner, whatever the case. There's tons of these YA dystopian future novels, and I think it has a lot to do with that idea that when you're a teenager, you have not yet been fully civilized, and then you're thrown into a high school with all these other barbarians, and I'm saying this literally, like barbarians who have not yet been socially taught how to exist in civilization.
Right.
Can
And that's why
confirm was a high school teacher.
What's that?
Said can confirm was a high school teacher.
There you go. And you're asked to navigate life with all of these other barbarians, and all these cliques form, and it's hopefully not actually violent, but things get pretty intense, at least emotionally.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's a very fraught time in your life. And so this idea of the dystopian future can really speak to you as a teenager. I think there's something there.
I think it also speaks to the, I don't know if it's a base desire, but it's a desire to unplug. Like, the more technology, it's all complicated, the social media, blah, blah. Wouldn't it be nice to just have it all go away, and now we have to start over?
Exactly. Well,
and now we have to reconnect.
Civilization on a personal and a societal level takes effort.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you guys remember that old saying that from elementary school? Well, you have to be taught to hate. Right?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You do not have to be taught to hate. You have to be taught not to hate.
Yeah.
So it's easy to let go of civilization, and there's something attractive about it where it's like, oh, it's so hard to be a decent human being all the time.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, let's move on to another trope. Let's talk about what's one of the ones you said, Kyle, that you wanted to talk about? Did you want to do Interstellar Travel or Cryosleep?
Ooh, let's do Cryosleep.
All right, Cryosleep.
Cryosleep. It's kind of one of those, I guess it's a thing, but like I don't know that it's ever going to be realistic. So for me there's a big suspension of disbelief, except for, let me give you a real life version of Cryosleep that I'm 100% convinced that this is happening.
Rip Van Winkle.
No.
Oh.
Have you ever seen Jennifer Lopez.
Oh yeah.
I'm positive that she performs. They put her back in cryosleep for however long period of time. She comes back out in 5-10 years, looks exactly the same, performs again.
I thought you were going to go.
Cryosleep.
I thought you were going with Walt Disney's head.
Well, I was
No.
going to say Ted Williams' head too. You know, so
No, 100%
they're
J-Lo.
gonna plug them into mechanical bodies, and they're gonna walk amongst us again.
Yeah, J-Lo, she's 50, pushing 50.
She's over
50-something.
50, yeah.
She's over 50. She is not an unattractive woman.
She's in cryosleep
No.
as we speak. I'm positive.
Not just her, but Tom Cruise.
No, I mean, I like cryosleep. I like the way that it's used a lot is in Interstellar Travel,
Yes.
so we can kind of connect the two. You know, we got to travel light years away, so we're gonna put you all to sleep and then wake you up in 40 years or 1,000 years, and you'll be just fine.
Right.
And
I think
it's fine.
it's because so let's talk about interstellar travel a little bit. We love the idea. We are an exploring species. We're constantly trying to spread ourselves.
Right.
And we could get into the other trope there, which is humans are the virus.
Always. Yep. Always.
But anyway, we're always trying
Okay,
to.
Agent Smith.
Oh, come on. We're always looking for new shores and new things out there, and so we're very attracted to this idea of traveling among the stars and finding new things. And so but it's impossible right now for us to do that. So we have to come up with different ways. And cryosleep is one of those ways where it's like, how could I plausibly create this story about people traveling among the stars?
Right.
And so you've got that.
Unless
You've
one of you inevitably wakes up early, and you have to wake somebody else up early so that you have somebody to not be lonely with.
There you go.
what was that awful movie?
Passengers.
Passengers. You know what
yeah.
you know what that movie needed? It very
Less
very
Jennifer Lawrence.
No, exactly the opposite. They needed to flip the script. Literally, if you had made it from her perspective, the movie would take a much more sinister twist, as it is, because okay, fine. Spoiler alert. Just if you haven't seen it, don't worry. It's not that
Movie's
good.
like 4 years old.
Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence are in cryosleep on this ship, and he gets woken up, and then it gets really lonely, and so he deliberately wakes her up and forces her into, basically kills her so that he can have a companion, but it's a long, slow death, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but because you see it from his perspective, it almost makes it kind of, there are goofy parts, and you just don't like him. You're like, oh, you're a smarmy idiot. But if it had been from her perspective, you could have had a lot of kind of dread, as she slowly comes to realize that this guy is not what she thought. I think it would have been a much, much better movie that way.
Yeah.
And also, the ending sucked.
All right.
Just terrible.
I'm not sure I saw the ending. So-
You were probably asleep, you old man.
I might have fallen asleep.
Yeah. Okay, so, oh no, is there anything else? Oh yeah, Interstellar Travel. The other one that I like in that is wormholes.
Oh yeah.
That's one that I really love, just because there's that really old explanation that's in a million different movies where they fold
They
the
fold
paper
a piece of paper
Yep.
and they
That's
stick a pencil through it or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. It's a dumb cliche, and if you write a movie, please don't put that in there.
Right.
right.
But in the places where it already is, I actually really like it. And I like kind of trying to bend my mind around this concept of folding space and time.
Space folding technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys? You didn't. Never mind. Because you guys are young. But you never saw the old Robotech cartoons.
No.
Nope.
That was one of the driving factors in the original Robotech cartoons, is that they space fold themselves too far out, and now they have to get back to Earth. And
Okay.
One of
I love
one of my
space folding.
favorite wormhole movies is Contact.
Really?
Yeah.
oh,
I don't know why. Like I just
don't-
remember watching it when I was like 12 and just being like so enthralled with that movie.
Yeah.
And I've watched it several times since then, and it's okay. There's nothing that's like super stand out about it, but for whatever reason, it's just always stuck with me.
You saw it at the right time.
Right. I saw it at the right time, and it's just stuck with me ever
Yeah.
since. And just the whole like using the satellites and radioing out to,
Now,
you know what I mean?
that one actually brings up another trope that we could talk about, which is aliens are God, or God is aliens,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
so in some versions of this, we were created, like Prometheus or something. We were created by this alien race, and then they left. And
Every ancient civilization advancement was alien technology.
right, and
Yeah.
so what do you think of this one? Aliens are God. Does this give us anything besides a different version of man's search for meaning and searching
No,
for God?
I mean, I think that's the story that they're trying to tell when they throw that, or else they're trying to come up with a different, an alternate story for theology,
Yeah.
Or a higher
So,
being.
like, it's more like, I guess I probably can't articulate this as well as I want to, so we'll just throw it out there. But I think it's more along the lines of like the atheist idea of like there is no God, it was just something else.
Right.
And so that's
A logical
yeah,
explanation.
and that's totally
Right.
fine. I think it makes for a really interesting story, and I like a lot of science fiction that starts that way. It's not my favorite trope though.
On the flip side, I think something that sci-fi can do really well is the question of what if you could meet your maker?
Right.
What would you say? What would you do? How would that affect an individual or a society?
I mean, that's essentially the whole idea of Alien with Prometheus and
yeah.
Alien Covenant, right?
Right.
Oh, right.
You can debate on whether or not that was well done or not,
Right.
but yeah, I do like the idea there.
Okay.
You have several steps of maker meeting maker,
Oh, that's true.
because the whole idea of what's his name, Michael Fassbender's character
yeah.
Mhm.
is that he was made and then he wanted to be the maker, and so he created the alien.
Right.
Anyways,
Okay. So with aliens, let's riff on aliens here for a second. What is your preferred method of or your preferred version of alien contact? The aliens are here to kill us and it's Roland Emmerich as far as the eye can see, or aliens are here to help us and it's a rival and they're just trying to help us learn and communicate better.
If it's aliens here to kill us, I only hope Will Smith is between me and them.
I don't. I've watched his YouTube channel. I'm good.
I think it's opposite. I think it's discovery. So I think it's us going out and finding.
Oh, you like
Yeah.
that one?
I like that one too.
Mm-hmm.
So is that because then we're not automatically the inferior species?
Maybe, but I also think we're not automatically. Neither one is automatically the good guy or the bad guy necessarily. A lot of it is just unknown. So it has that colonial feel as well. So I like that, where you're going out and discovering, like you're talking about, we're trying to find new shores and things like that. And,
Yeah.
And it's mostly just cultures colliding, and there's conflict there, but there's not always this imminent like they're bad. They're here because they want to, colonize our planet or exterminate us or vice versa. I think it makes for a more interesting story.
I think in that sense, if we're looking at aliens coming to us, I prefer the aliens coming in peace. Because it seems like if you were to run the numbers, more often than not, the aliens are coming with ill intent.
It's just more interesting.
It's probably more interesting.
It's built-in conflict.
Yeah, it's more action-packed. Exactly.
Right. Putting the infeasibility of the utopian society aside, I love the Star Wars or the Star Trek First Contact story, where they discover warp technology, and just as the Vulcans are coming by, and now the Vulcans make first contact, and it makes everything happen. All the magic happens because of this convergence, and I like that story.
Speaking of which, science as magic.
I love science as magic. That's my favorite trope.
Tell me more about what you mean.
What I mean by that is you take science. It's basically looking forward instead of backward, I guess, is kind of my simplified definition of science fiction versus fantasy. But you take magic, or you take technology that's inexplicable. The case in point, nanotechnology is the flavor of the day.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And you use it, and you don't have to explain it necessarily. You just
Iron Man's suit just appears out of nowhere.
I just can create nanotechnology, and it will be there when I need it until the moment that it is critical that it doesn't work. you know. and
So how does this not drive you crazy the way that time travel does? And I don't think we've even talked about time travel yet. But Ken, you hate time travel because it doesn't make any sense, and it can't make any sense literally.
Right.
And so you see it as a poor storytelling device. Why don't you think that way about, say, nanotechnology?
Well, nanotechnology is probably a poor example of what I like about technology.
And by
as
the
magic,
way, let's be clear. Nanotechnology is a real thing that actually exists. We're talking about the
soft magic system.
Yes, we're talking about the
Yeah.
soft magic system of nanotechnology that you can see in the Avengers and
Exactly.
lots of movies lately. But the reason I like it is because of things. Well, where are we? Are we still on magic as technology, or are we going back to time travel?
No, that's either one.
The
It's
reason,
the same thing.
Yeah, the reason I like magic as technology is going back to Star Trek, for example. When I was growing up, and the Next Generation was coming out, and you have replicators that can create food by pulling, molecules out of space or some reasons, whatever reasons, and you have transporter technology that you can move from here to there, and there are all these fanciful ideas that now aren't quite so fanciful because they drive and inspire innovation. Because now here we have 3D printers, which can create things out of nothing. We have data pads.
I think a perfect example is a Star Trek communicator.
Yeah.
You got a cell phone in your pocket, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't have that when Star Trek started.
Well, and that's another trope we got to get to. Gosh, I feel like we're just flying through the tropes.
I think it's interesting when you have science fiction that actually becomes science fact.
Right.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and this is my point of why I like science or technology as the magic system, is because I think it inspires, because it's looking forward.
Lightsabers, hoverboards.
Only I hope one day.
No, I hope we never get lightsabers. We're all going to be chopping our limbs off.
Right.
That's going to happen.
I want an actual hoverboard, not one of those dumb ones with the wheels.
Why did they have to call that a hoverboard?
Because people are stupid.
I kind of feel like
you know why? Because it was 2015 when we were supposed to have hoverboards, and so somebody was like, "We got to call it a hoverboard because we're supposed to have hoverboards in 2015."
I honestly feel like somebody should bring a lawsuit for false advertising because in no way is this thing hovering.
Right.
And honestly, if you were going to bring something from Back to the Future in 2015, why don't I get that mini Pizza Hut pizza that instantly turns into the huge Pizza Hut pizza? Because give me that every day over a hoverboard.
That would be cool. However, the number one technology from Back to the Future 2, I guess, has got to be the Nikes that lace up themselves.
They have those.
Well, right, but it doesn't work exactly.
No,
right, does it? It's not.
Well, and the self-drying coats that auto fit and everything. Yeah,
those would be cool. That's right. I forgot they made those shoes.
But they do have the Nikes that lace themselves.
Okay.
The things they did have.
If we get enough Patreon donations, we can get you a pair.
There you go.
would love that. I would love that.
Back to the Future 2, though, the screen that's the size of a wall and the 500 channels and everything.
Yeah.
And the TV, in the screen, and there they were.
I've got
25
close to
years.
500 screens in this room, I swear.
25 years prior to, and there it is in 2015. We've got that stuff.
Okay, so can I go back to aliens for a second?
Go back to them.
Why are aliens always bugs?
Because it's easy.
Especially when aliens are not good guys.
Because it's the easy way out for the good guys. Because you have the mothership or the hive mind, the queen, and all you got to do is take down the queen, and it kills all of the other ones. So the idea there is, I think it's two parts. I think it's the convenience of victory after you've had enough of the invasion.
No more mop-up operations.
Yep.
Exactly. And I think it's because bugs are the most quote-unquote alien-looking thing that people can think of until you start to get into like deep-sea diving stuff.
Right.
And so I think the trope of the hive mind and the appearance of bugs and just kind of
What's your favorite bug alien movie?
Favorite bug alien movie?
Mine's got to be Starship
Troopers. Yep.
Yeah, that's probably up there.
Those aliens were. Yeah,
I'm trying to think of other bug.
Well, there's the book. I mean, we did Ender's Game recently. They're literally called the Buggers.
Yeah.
Wow. which I don't think we even got to on that episode because
Right.
that was an author's shelf, and I don't
Yeah.
think
I
we
think
were,
my favorite
we
bug,
didn't really get to the buggery during the author's
I
shelf.
think my
episode.
favorite bug alien race is the Zerg from Starcraft.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Definitely.
Oh gosh, I love Starcraft so much.
Right.
I want a Starcraft movie. I think that would be
I've
fantastic.
been waiting for years for that.
Yeah,
Or series. Give me a series.
I don't think we're gonna get that.
No, we won't.
Oh well, that's too bad. Of course,
yeah.
now we can't. Now none of us can play Blizzard games anymore.
Nope.
After all this China
Get outta
versus
here.
Blizzard or China with Blizzard stuff, I don't know. I don't really want to get into that. Okay, so
Don't touch my sweet Chinese money. Sorry.
I don't want to get into it.
Yep.
Okay, parallel universes, or multiverse.
Multiverses.
Parallel universe versus the multiverse. Which one do you like more? And I will tell you which one I like more. Or not parallel universe. I want to say
Alternate dimensions.
alternate dimensions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
Because
the
I
word
was going to
looking
say when
for.
we were talking
Or
about
mirror
when
universe.
we were talking about aliens and the different types of aliens, and we were talking about interstellar travel, I was thinking about Interstellar, the movie,
Yes.
where the aliens are actually just us from a different dimension, or it was Matthew McConaughey from a different dimension that was communicating.
I feel like I need to play the Beastie Boys right now. By the way.
No, that's Star
Intergalactic
Trek.
Planetary.
Yeah.
plan-
Remember that's Star Trek when they kill the alien race with the Beastie Boys.
the
The
power of the beasties, which makes it sound like they're furries.
Well, you know.
But they're not. Anyway, no. What was I just talking about? Oh yeah, I'll tell you which one I prefer. I much prefer alternate dimensions
Mhm.
to the multiverse.
Mhm.
Not that the multiverse can't be cool, but it's like there's not as much to do with it. And I love this idea of it's kind of this Lovecraftian idea that there's
Mhm.
something just outside your peripheral vision that you can't quite see, but it's there.
that
and
everybody's had that experience that I know something's there and I
right.
just can't see it.
And it's creepy and it's full of fun possibilities. And there's a Metallica song that's based on the Hounds of Tindalos that move through dimensions like anytime they can get to, I think it's a right angle. They move through right angles in between dimensions, and they hunt you down. And so you have to get away from anything angled. I don't know, something like that, but it's bizarre.
Is that like the angels from Doctor Who? Don't look at them, then they kill you or something. I don't know. Ryan would know. But I prefer alternate dimensions to multiverse for the same reason that I basically hate time travel, and that's multiverse can be used as a sloppy story plot device, meaning we don't have to come up with a great story. We'll just it's from this multiverse, done. And basically story writing kind of goes out the window. That was a lot of my problems. Referencing Star Trek again, they started in the later series and later episodes and stuff using time travel just because. It's like, oh, here's somebody from the future or something.
Right.
And it creates weak stories that aren't thought out well. And I feel like the multiverse can do the same thing because it's all these infinite possibilities. Well, with infinite possibilities comes no coherence, or no framework. Alternate realities can provide a framework. This is the dimension. These are the parameters of the dimension.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess I feel like alternate realities and multiverse is kind of the same thing.
They're kind of similar. And maybe I'm just...
those. I think
I like
those
the
are probably
idea of
same
like
thing.
additional dimensions and not necessarily like
Alternate.
alternate dimensions, because I feel like alternate dimensions is the idea of the multiverse, right?
Right.
It's different. But I
Maybe-
like the idea of additional dimensions,
the
like-
idea of
or unknown dimensions,
something in the same geographical space as us,
Right.
Yes.
but that exists completely separately.
There's no, like, as far as we are able to tell, we have no empirical evidence of it, but it is there. So like, I guess to our senses, maybe we can't register that that's a thing, but that it exists. And like you said, so it's in our same, I guess geographical,
yeah,
sphere or
it's
whatever,
in our
but-
same space,
right.
but
So-
in a different dimension. Yeah, okay, all right, that's enough dimensions. Would you ever do it with an alien? Let's talk about interspecies romance. Are you gonna do it with an alien, Ken? Ken, you would do it with anything.
Depends on if the alien's hot. I mean,
Is it
Do we get along on a? Do we connect on an
Is it
emotional
Zoe
level?
Saldana,
That's what I want to
or-
know.
When Jennifer Lopez comes out of Cryosleep, yes.
There's a great. Did you guys ever watch Red Dwarf?
No.
No.
Oh my gosh, you need to watch Red Dwarf. It's this amazing program from Britain from the 90s.
No.
No?
No.
What?
I
why-
tried. I just thought it was. I thought it was awful. I thought all British television was awful back then.
You're
I just,
awful.
I did. I thought it was all awful
I
back then.
have thought poorly of you before, Ken,
I
but
know.
this is a new low.
This is the poorest you've ever thought of me.
Wow.
Sorry.
No, there's an episode of Red Dwarf in which there's this guy, like I think they call them the sirens or it's something along those lines, but it emits this sound that can manipulate Lister's mind, and so he sees this gorgeous, amazing blonde bombshell woman, and she's like, "You want me, don't you?" And he's like, "I can't resist you any longer," and he starts making out with her, and then it switches perspective, and it's this gooey, gross alien with this long snout that's just kind of dripping all over his mouth.
Yikes.
It's fantastic.
I thought you were going to say she was a fembot with machine gun jubblies.
Okay, so let's wrap it up. I want to know what your favorite sci-fi movie is. So I bet you haven't really been thinking about it, but I'll go first so that you guys can have just a few more seconds to think about it. Mine, just using these tropes that we've talked about. This is arguably not a sci-fi movie at all, but going by these tropes, Knowing, starring Nicolas
Oh, yeah.
Cage. This was a nearly universally hated movie that I remember seeing in the theaters, and I absolutely loved it. And I went home and read some reviews, and it turned out everybody in the world hated it except for me and Roger Ebert and like 8 other people on the internet.
Wasn't it mostly hated for Nicolas Cage's hair?
I don't know. But yeah, Nicolas Cage he plays this professor, and he ends up predicting the end of the world. But it has the aliens as God trope.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, what was the other one? Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I really liked the ending of it with seeding. The aliens take these kids from Earth and put them on separate spaceships, and they seed the universe with all these kids all over the place.
I have to go back and see that one again. I think for lack of a better choice, I'd probably have to say The Matrix.
Interesting. Okay.
I realize, I've just complained about aliens as tyrants and all of the. I guess it's not really time travel. Plugging yourself into the machine is kind of cool, but
that's a great wish fulfillment movie.
yes,
When they plug into the back of their heads and he's
Yep.
like, I know kung
it's
fu.
not, I can learn all these things at the click of my operator's mouse, and that's it. And now I know all these things after 10 hours. And
Solid choice.
Yeah,
The Matrix is great.
I love that shot. 2 was okay. 3 was hot garbage, but
Kyle.
You're both wrong.
okay.
That's fine. I'm about to change my choice.
There is one acceptable answer.
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
I was
Now-
about to guess Top Gun.
Now,
but
Jurassic Park aside, because it is the only acceptable answer.
it's actually probably it's one of the only acceptable answers for the greatest movie of all time.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, go on.
I mean, it is, I guess you would technically classify it as science fiction, but it definitely doesn't hit the tropes we've been talking about. So,
That's true.
one of the standouts for me, actually, I really love Minority Report.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I love-
Another solid choice.
I love the whole precog idea. I think it's really well put together.
There's science as magic right there.
Yeah, it
Yep.
definitely is.
Or really just
but
magic
there's
is
so
magic.
many great ones to choose from. You've got Terminator 2. You've got
That one's
Do you
magic
prefer
is
Terminator
science.
2 over Terminator 1?
yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I think it
okay.
holds up better. I think that I like the story of Terminator 1 probably equal to Terminator 2, but I think it's
Visually.
more enjoyable to watch Judgment Day over and over again than it is to watch the
and
first
over
one.
and over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of really great ones. Did you ever see the movie Elysium with Matt Damon?
No, I deliberately didn't.
Yeah,
see
I
that.
really
made a
love
point to not watch that.
I love the premise of that movie. It wasn't well executed,
Right.
but it was visually stunning, and the premise was really fascinating to me. But
Okay.
yeah, I was
Did you guys ever see
disappointed.
District 9?
Oh yeah, I love District
Yeah,
9.
I like
thought
that.
that was
Great.
really good. I
Mhm.
thought yeah, that was sci-fi as shitty Parable.
Yes.
Right.
That was much better than I think Elysium probably
Yes.
was.
Agreed.
So,
I think they were trying to do something similar with Elysium, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I might change my mind to Interstellar, which we've referenced already.
Yeah.
or Inception.
Inception is cool. That one feels more like just magic though, like
That's
the
what I was-
invading dreams. Like there's
Sure.
the box that they use. It's like that box in Red Shirts.
Yes.
Where it's like, what does it do? How does it work? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Cares.
Just plug it in for
It-
standard
I
amount
does
of
what
time.
we need
I
it to
will
do.
say there are far more great science fiction movies out there than there are great fantasy movies.
Yes, I think.
Yes.
100%.
I think that's true. But no, Interstellar not only has the great, Interstellar Travel and all of that stuff, but one of the top 10 soundtracks of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Just love that soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned Annihilation early on, which I thought Annihilation was fantastic.
Yeah, didn't Ryan hate that one?
I don't remember. Did
Yeah,
we not
I
like
think-
that? No, we had an Annihilation episode at one
Didn't
point.
we watched
but-
that and then talked
Yeah.
about it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think
I don't think he liked it.
I don't
I
think
don't
he liked it
remember.
very much. Anyway, all right. So let's stop talking about sci-fi. And Ken, like I said, we're pointing Blue Team probably in the direction of The Expanse.
I would safely say that Blue Team is pointing that direction itself.
I
Yeah.
think it's a good idea. So if you want to support Blue Team in their venture there, please do so. Go to patreon.com/legendarium and support both the blue and the red team there. And go to the legendariumpodcast.com if you want to hear older episodes that we have made. They're all there. You can find our archive, or you can find them grouped by series. And what else? Follow us on all the social media.
The Reddit, the Twitter, the Discord.
All of it. Yep. Discord has been going gangbusters
Yeah, it
the last
has.
couple days. We've had like 30 people join Discord in the last day or two. So welcome
actually-
to all of them.
I've actually been plugging into there once in a while.
You should.
Maybe
I
I'll
think
delete my Twitter and just do Discord.
Discord is it's grown on me over the last few months. So I would
Yeah.
encourage you to give it a shot.
I might do that.
Uh,
I hate the Twitter so bad.
Twitter is a terrible place to
It is.
lurk.
Yeah.
It's an even worse place to engage. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week with Blue Team finishing up their Dresden Files number 7.
Yes.
Right, what's it called? Deadbeat?
Deadbeat.
Deadbeat.
Yep.
So that one's
So
coming
good
up
we had
next
to-
week.
Turn it into 2 episodes and we'll do number 2 next week.
Okay, see you then, Ken.
They have this simulator ride where you're riding a
Mm-hmm.
what's the beast that you have to a
The-
banshee.
They're
Man-
f***ing pterodactyls. Nobody
Yeah.
cares.
They are pterodactyls.
You have to
I
bond with
care.
one and you get to fly. It's
You're not on
wicked.
board for the 5 sequels
Oh,
or whatever it is that's
Oh,
happening.
good heavens.
Get on board. Saddle up on that banshee and
Get
let's
ready
go for a
because
ride.
it's coming.